Hello everybody, welcome back to the show. So, I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna do a little bit of a shorter stream, I guess, specifically to talk about the trans genocide, which, and what I mean by that is, well, not only is there genocidal rhetoric, but, the reason why I titled my video this way is, very deliberate because, somebody made a video saying the trans genocide isn't real. So I thought, you know what would be a better title than saying the contrary? Unfortunately, it's not just the title because I'm a contrarian. But I thought, you know what? I thought I'll do a shorter stream today and just go over a very interesting looking video that I found. Now, I haven't watched it yet, so I'm going to be watching this for the first time with you guys. For all we know, this could actually be an absolute masterpiece of a video. But before we get on to watching the video, I guess I'll just welcome people from chat. Hello, Raymond42. Hello, Honeybuns #1 Bussy Consumer. And greetings and salutations, Pancake Panic. So yeah, now, all of you watching this probably are aware of the fact that I have a very, let's just say, interesting relationship with the commentary community. And, well, the video we're going to be watching is made by a commentary YouTuber. I think his name is Ween or something, if I'm not mistaken. And we're going to be watching a video he made. So I guess I'll just have to pull it up real quick because, you know, because, reasons. I don't know if I have it saved, but, I guess I can just search his channel, right? And then I can find the video from there. I'm really hoping he didn't delete it. If he... Oh, yeah. Alright. Yeah, so... Okay. So, without further ado... Grab some popcorn, grab some, I don't know, your mom's titty milk, and, you know, I was gonna do a leafy thing, like, fucking, you know what, just ignore the fact that I said anything, alright? Just pretend like, yeah, just pretend like nothing was said, okay? Yeah, there we go. That's how you resolve all your problems, okay?
I've shit 3 times today.
Good job.
Thought I would try out Folgers coffee, but you know what? I kind of regret it now. Honestly, not my best decision. What is...
I love how the topic of the video is trans genocide. And the first thing he's talking about is something completely unrelated. Isn't that just wonderful?
How's it do, my hoes and homos? How is it going, fellas? Today, we're going to be talking about trans genocide.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you gotta love the background music being used here. I assume the audio's okay. Hold on. I'll just do my thing where I check.
Yes. Before this video begins, I do want to make it very, very clear that... Are my eyes giving it away that I've written down bullet points of disclaimers? Because I did.
I want to die.
Get fucked. I want to make this very clear and...
Ah, you get it, guys? The joke is that he slowly and awkwardly put on his sunglasses. And, wow, he's such a silly goose. You're not supposed to wear sunglasses inside.
And although I've been making jokes thus far into the video, I do want to say that I do support trans people. I do...
Okay. Well, that's good news. I'm glad you're not a literal, like, fucking Nazi. Like, wow, you know that it's gonna be a great video when we're setting the bar real high here.
Do not wish harm upon trans people.
Oh my god, what? Wow, what a saint. He's disclaiming. His disclaimer is literally the bare fucking minimum for being a decent human being. So I've got to wonder, why does he have to sugarcoat this? You just gotta wonder. But, yeah, I guess we'll get into that later in the video, huh?
I am not conservative. I'm also aware that this post that I'm covering, this little tweet, is the stance of a vocal minority, but...
He's not conservative, alright? We'll have to be putting that to the test. because there is a trans genocide. And what I mean by that is not we are literally being put into death camps, right? That's not what I mean when I say trans genocide. What I mean is there is a movement, a scarily large movement of conservatards who want to legislate trans people or queer people in general out of existence. They do so via banning gender-affirming care for no reason, shit like that, right? We'll get into that in a bit, okay?
But it is a talking point nonetheless. You know, people are always talking about trans rights, right? But okay.
Yeah, because people are constantly trying to take them away. If people were just, like, chill, like, and I'm not trying to blame any specific individuals other than, like, conservative pundits, really. But when conservative pundits are constantly talking about how trans people need to be eradicated and how, oh, we're all just a bunch of degenerates who are just either grooming or being groomed by the Jewish cabal and shit like that, right?
Occasionally, I think it's okay to talk about trans wrongs. It happens sometimes, okay? And I think...
you see, I see what he did there. Wow, this man should be a stand-up comedian.
I think it's good for discussion, for discourse. And although I don't want to have
Alright, I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what he has to contribute to discourse.
And honestly, I just want to give you my opinion. And if you leave a comment telling me about how I'm wrong, I probably won't give all that much of a shit.
Okay. I mean, I'm not leaving a comment. I'm making an entire stream segment dedicated to you. I don't personally expect anybody who you know, I make a video on or a stream on to give a shit. Okay, nobody is obligated to give a shit. It would be nice though if people that I criticize would at the very least be decent enough to consider the things that I'm saying. And who knows, maybe we end up agreeing on everything. I mean, we're only 1 minute and 10 seconds into the video.
I do want to put my stance out there because maybe it'll create discourse for other people. I'm desperately...
You better believe that that is exactly what's happening. So mission accomplished in that regard.
Trying not to be insensitive, but bear with me, I'm a little bit retarded. This all stems...
We're all retarded sometimes. It's okay.
Around this tweet. That's the word I was looking for. This all stems around this tweet that says, "This is what genocide looks like."
Okay, let's see. Tennessee's legislature gives trans youth 1 year to detransition. The state will also ban drag performances in places where minors may be present. How? Okay. All right. Okay, Ween. Yeah, no, that's not genocide. That's just trying to ban trans people from existing. Oh, yeah, no, that's not genocide. But Femyoz, they're just banning trans youth from existence. They're not banning, trans adults. Well, unfortunately, your argument falls flat on its face as soon as you realize that, you know, that there was a bill proposed in Oklahoma that, let's just say it aims to ban gender-affirming care for anybody up to the age of 26. Yeah, no, this is not a joke. This is a real bill that was proposed, okay? 26. All right? Not just 18, okay? So people who have been able to serve in the military for years are basically you know, there's a possibility that they're not able to get gender-affirming care that they need to not fucking kill themselves, right? So, I don't want to hear any of this, oh, well, it's just to protect the kids, LOL, kind of bullshit, because nobody proposing these bills gives a fuck about the kids, okay? They don't care about protecting the kids. They're not anti-grooming or anti-abuse, okay? Fucking half these people are fucking pedophiles, okay? Like, it's always conservatives that get outed as pedophiles and or at the very least, they go against what they preach by being closeted gays and closeted trans cock chasers, okay? They are, let's just say a lot of them are gawk goblins. And for those of you who don't know, gawk is short for girl cock, okay?
And the point of this video is that, no, it's not. Plain and simple.
Ah, yes, legislating trans people out of existence isn't genocide. Okay, what is it then? Okay, yeah, sure. What do you want to call it?
Simple. This is not genocide.
Then what is it?
I would give you an example of genocide, right? A visual depiction, right? Because that's what you're showing us, a screenshot of something. I would give you a visual.
It's not just a screenshot of something, you fucking idiot. No. It is a screenshot of not just anything. It is a screenshot of something that says that somebody is being forced to detransition. They are forcing trans people to detransition. And you're trying to sit here and say that it's not transgenocide when we all know, or at least anybody who has done more than 5 fucking seconds of research knows that when trans people... Fuck, I'm sorry, I'm getting fucking mad now. Holy shit, I need to calm down a little bit. But when trans people don't get the gender-affirming care that they need, they are far more likely to commit suicide. It has been statistically proven that when trans people get gender-affirming care, their suicide rate decreases substantially. So I don't want you to fucking sit here and be like, oh, well, it's not genocide, because it is. It's just a very indirect form of genocide. You don't literally need to line people up into death camps to commit genocide, okay? If you get a bunch of people to kill themselves, I mean, they're doing the job for you, right?
Visual depiction of what genocide really looks like, but I'm pretty sure that YouTube's TOS wouldn't allow that on here, so...
I mean, I already explained it.
So I'm gonna say, look up the Wikipedia page for genocides, go down that list, right? Pick one, go to Google searches, look it up, and enjoy.
All right, why don't we, we'll do our due diligence here. I am a man of research, okay? I don't even know if I'm a man at this point. I'm probably either non-binary or a woman. I don't fucking know anymore. But let's do our research, okay? Genocide definition, okay? The deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group. Okay, so basically, okay, I guess from a technical standpoint, you could be like, well, transgender isn't an ethnicity, therefore it can't be genocide. But in terms of the kind of ideas and rhetoric that are being spread, they're basically genocidal, right? Okay? Because it is a particular group, okay? It is a particular minority group. It is specifically trans people, okay? And it is the deliberate killing of trans people when you try to legislate them out of existence, meaning that they're either forced to stay in the closet or fucking kill themselves. If that's not genocide, I don't fucking know what is, okay? It doesn't have to literally be putting people into death camps, okay? There's more than one way to kill a large group of people, okay? I think a good analogy, perhaps, would be, let's say if they were to ban black people from reproducing, whether it be with white people or other black people, okay? Would you argue that that's not genocide because they're not literally being lined up? Oh, and also they're not allowed to be black anymore. They have to I don't know. They have to go through a surgery to make their skin white or some shit. I don't fucking know. So, something kind of fucked up, right? It would be the same as that. It's like, well, they're genocide. It's like, okay, but you don't have to send people to death camps to commit genocide, okay? That should be very fucking obvious, alright? In fact, if you want to cite Wikipedia, there's multiple definitions. Intent, okay, this and other, okay, so... blah, 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 pursuant of the convention and prevention of blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. Alright. This and other definitions are generally regarded as the majority of genocide scholars have, to have intent to destroy as a requirement for an act to be labeled as a genocide. So, there is an intent to destroy, the existence of trans people, okay? Very, very clear and blatant, okay? Just watch Michael Knowles' fucking speech about how he wants to eradicate trans people, okay? And even if let's give him the benefit of the doubt, and for the sake of argument, say that genocide is technically not the correct term or whatever the fuck. It's still communicating the information very well, and the reason it's doing so is because it really reinforces the severity of the situation, okay? What Wien is doing here, whether he realizes it or not, is downplaying the severity of substantially increasing the suicide rate of trans people. That's why these fucking dumb fuck conservative politicians do what they do, okay? They are doing what they do in order to increase the suicide rate of trans people as much as humanly possible, because they want to turn our country into a Christian conservative safe space, okay? They want it to be a safe space for Christian fundamentalists. And they can't accomplish that if queer people exist, okay? They are not willing to coexist with queer people, okay? And I hate to turn this into a dichotomy, but I'm not the one turning it into a dichotomy. Okay, I'm just acknowledging a dichotomy that other people have created for me, okay? And the people that have created it are the people that are trying to, well, basically commit genocide against trans people.
Feast your eyes upon it. And it's not going to be a bunch of pictures of children not being able to get hormones. It's going to be piles of, dead bodies, people in pain, people...
Wow, interesting how you bring up dead bodies. Would the trans kid hanging from the ceiling fan not constitute as a dead body?
Suffering, horrible, genuinely disgusting shit, right?
You mean like images of trans people hanging from ceiling fans? Like horrible shit like that, right?
Do you know what genocide is?
Yes.
Because it involves killing a bunch of people from
genocide, right? Like
the sole intent of not having that group exist anymore. And
that's literally what that is, though.
I need to point out that there has...
What would the other intent be, okay? It's not protect the children, okay? We already established that there's a bill being proposed in Oklahoma that aims to ban gender-affirming care for anybody under the age of 26. So it's not protect the children. So what is it? Who does this benefit?
Never been more trans people alive at any given point in...
Okay, that's completely irrelevant, okay? I don't care if there's more trans people. Well, first of all, there's more openly trans people out of the closet than there ever have been in the past. But that doesn't mean that it is impossible to commit genocide against trans people, okay? All right? Just because the genocide hasn't been committed yet doesn't mean that there's no chance it'll happen, okay? You could argue, oh, well, there's like as Hitler is starting to rise to power, people may have argued, oh, well, there's no genocide here, there's more Jewish people than there have ever been, they're just looking at, I don't know, sending Jewish people to the ghetto. I mean, that's not that bad. I mean, they can just live in the ghetto, I mean, they're deliberately making their lives miserable, but I mean, at least it's not death camps, right? Right? They would never go that far, would they? I mean, you could make that argument from the perspective of somebody in Germany as Hitler and the Nazis are rising to power.
Human history. For this to be genocide, there would have to be significantly less, right? Because people are being killed. And not only...
Wait, but they are.
Have there never been more trans people alive at any given point in...
Yeah, well, when the... Okay, going out of your way to increase the suicide rate of trans people, I would say that is an act of genocide, okay? I mean, that's literally what their goal is. They don't want trans people to exist. Do you think that they're just, trying to ban trans people from existence because it somehow benefits other people? No, nobody benefits from trans people being banned and legislated out of existence, okay? And it also mentioned, if we go earlier, back when he's showing the screenshot.
No, it's not. Plain and simple, this is like...
Okay. The state will also ban drag performances in places where minors may be present. I mean, that is so vague. Okay, where minors may be present. So basically anywhere that isn't a bar or a strip club. Because minors may be present anywhere, technically speaking. So this just allows the state government you know, basically, you know, implement these Christian fundamentalist ideas in a very authoritarian manner, in a blatantly, because, like, again, they have a blatantly fascist agenda. That is what their goal is, to ban trans people from existing. That's what they want to do. And their way of doing this is by deliberately forcing trans people to either detransition or to fucking kill themselves, basically. Those are the two options that they want trans people to have, okay?
They've never had more rights than they do right now. This isn't...
Yeah, okay, but those rights are... People are trying to take away those rights, okay? Just because the genocide has not happened yet does not mean that people aren't attempting to get us there, okay? We shouldn't just fucking wait for everybody to be lined up in death camps before we say, hey, this looks like genocide, we need to stop this before it escalates, type of shit, right? And it's already escalating, okay? But we want to put a stop to it before it's too fucking late, alright?
Just a stretch, right? You're laying out two separate points and then completely refusing to connect them. I don't think...
What?
I need to point out that this is just utterly delusional.
It's really not, okay? For years, the rhetoric that conservatives were using, back when they were more mask on, was, it was more along the lines of, oh, you know, I mean, you know, it's like, oh, you know, trans people are allowed to, you know, live however they want. You know, I respect them, and you know, it's just as long as children, you know, aren't trans or whatever. And it's like, okay, or like, as long as they're not, you know, getting bottom surgery, or like, they'll make shit up. But like, you know, it was very mask on, right? They would frame it as, oh, you know, we just care about the children, ooh-woo. That was their framing of the argument back then. But now, I mean, it's escalated to a point where, again, you have prominent right-wing figures like Michael Knowles literally saying that they want to eradicate trans people. I mean, you have Matt Walsh, who believes that trans people shouldn't be allowed to exist, period. Not just trans children, but trans people in general, okay? So if you don't think that it can escalate exponentially, you are sadly mistaken, my friend. And you are part of the problem.
Straight up, you're wrong. That's...
Except I'm not.
All there is to it. It's not
that's all there is to it? You don't have, like, a good counter-argument?
genocide. You know, I could end the video right there, but...
perhaps you would like to debate me, Ween.
I'm not going to, because there probably is a little bit more discourse that I should put out there to...
You think?
Prove my point a little bit more.
Yeah, good fucking luck with that.
It's really about killing us.
It is.
Now, let me lay what this is out, right?
Okay, he didn't read the whole tweet. I have seen people detransition because at the end of the day, it's a choice and they regret transition, but the opposite can be said for people who transition and may not regret it. This is just outward erasing us from existing by force. Yeah, that's literally what it is. Forcing people to detransition is it is literally forcing us to not exist. That's what that is. By definition. Oh, it's not genocide, it's just forcing trans people to not exist. It's like, shut the fuck up.
About killing us. Now, let me lay what this is out, right? Because I looked into this bill that got passed. Aside from the drag queen stuff that's involved in this, I'm not going to talk about that, just the trans youth in this situation.
Oh yeah, we're not going to talk about this other fucked up shit. We're only going to talk about this part of the genocidal conservative agenda. We're going to ignore this part of their genocidal agenda for now. You know, it's not really, you know, who gives a fuck about that, right?
And I'm going to talk about, right? Let me lay this out. The state of Tennessee is going to stop providing gender-affirming care to minors in a year. This is not attacking your right to present or...
Yeah, and this is why I can see why he would want to avoid the drag the drag queen part of the bill, okay? Because that would completely destroy this whole, oh, they're not trying to attack the way you present or live, you know. It's like, but that's literally what they're doing. Like, if this isn't the most blatant, if this isn't the most blatantly obvious evidence of that, then I don't fucking know what is. Does there have to be, like, video footage of, like, a bunch of trans people being, like, sent to death camps and dying for you to change your mind on this? Is that what you need to actually take this seriously?
Be the opposite gender or whichever one you choose, even for minors. This does not restrict the rights of adult transgender people.
Yeah, if you think it's just gonna be minors that get fucked over by this, you are sadly mistaken. And what constitutes as drag, right? Okay, this is why he's ignoring it. I don't know if he's, like, just or I don't know, maybe he's just fucking retarded. I mean, he said so at the start of the video. He called himself that. Or he's just being dishonest by, you know, omitting the fact that, hey, wait a minute, if you actually think for 5 fucking seconds, you will quickly come to the realization that banning drag events is literally, that aspect of the genocide is, yeah, you're not even allowed to present the way you want to. Because what constitutes as a drag queen? Well, I guess technically anybody who's gender non-conforming could be classified as a drag queen. This includes, obviously, drag queens, trans women, because, you know, conservatives think that trans women are just men who cross-dress, femboys. Okay, it's gonna affect all of these people, whether you like it or not. That's just the fact of the matter is, like, this is an obvious attempt at committing a genocide against trans people, okay? And you sitting here omitting information does not make your position look any stronger, okay? It makes you look fucking stupid.
This does not in any way, shape, or form promote the killing of trans people.
No, it doesn't promote the killing of trans people. Yeah, why don't you tell that to the kid hanging from the ceiling fan? Yeah, why don't you tell that to the trans kid hanging from the fucking ceiling fan, okay? Tell them that this isn't something that will kill trans people. And, yeah, okay. Oh, you won't because you're a fucking pussy? Okay, I figured.
I wouldn't have to say that, but I kind of do in this context, right?
Yeah, well, you should also have to say it to the trans kids hanging from the ceiling fans, okay? That's who you should be saying it to.
Your rights as an adult trans person have not been infringed upon in any...
Well, except the drag part of the bill, the anti-drag part, does infringe upon those rights. Because they see men who cross-dress and trans women as the same thing, okay? They classify those as one and the same, okay?
Anyway, they're just certain things.
The ban on drag is a deliberate attempt at getting closer to the goal, it is just moving them closer to the goal of banning cross-dressing in general, because they see it all as equally degenerate, and they want to ban it from society. They need to sanitize it until it becomes their ideal fucking Christian fundamentalist conservative version of society, where trans people and anyone who's gender non-conforming isn't allowed to exist anymore, okay? That is what they want, and this is just how they're moving closer and closer to that. And to sit here and claim, like, oh, well, it's not even if it wasn't genocide, that doesn't mean that the bill is okay. Oh, well, it's not genocide, so it's actually not bad that, you know, they're increasing the suicide rate of trans children. Oh, it's only trans children that are going to be more suicidal than trans adults. No. Shut the fuck up. Increasing the suicide rate of any group of people for no fucking reason is bad, okay? They're not increasing the suicide rate. They're not doing this to increase the suicide rate of trans adults. They're only going to make trans kids commit suicide way more. It's like, you shouldn't be making anybody commit suicide more, okay? That's fucking stupid.
Things that we don't let kids do for their own safety.
For their own safety? My fucking ass. Yeah, is it for their own safety when they kill themselves? Is it for their own safety when you decide to go against the scientific and medical consensus, which is that gender affirming care has been proven to substantially decrease the suicide rate of trans people? But oh, let me guess, Ween, you know better than all of the scientists and psychologists and psychiatrists and medical institutions, don't you? Because you're smarter than all of them, you know. with all 2 seconds of research you've done.
And because I know that some people like to bring up the fact that these are life-saving surgeries.
Well, okay, first of all, we're not talking about surgery, okay? We are talking about puberty blockers and hormones, okay? That's not surgery, okay? It is an important part of the treatment that is gender-affirming care, and not to mention that the whole drag thing isn't even medical. So this clearly isn't even a medical issue that is being proposed here. This isn't a blatantly anti-trans issue. That's what it is. That is their goal. They don't give a fuck about, oh, the medical institutions, you know, the problem is they're overprescribing stuff, and that includes gender-affirming care, so they need to, you know, be a little bit more, you know, careful with who they prescribe it to. That's not their position, okay? Their position is to ban trans people from existence. I don't know how you don't fucking see this. I mean, sure, maybe it's a little bit easier to come to that conclusion if you just pretend like it doesn't say anything about drag, or because it, you know, it completely destroys your entire argument, but whatever.
Right? You can read a study that I've linked below, and I won't go into further detail.
All right, let's read that study, all right? I wonder if it's the, I wonder if he's gonna lie about the Swedish study. Study. Journals.plos.org. Okay. This looks like a great site. All right. Alright, time to put my reading glasses on. Alright. Alright. Abstract. Context. The treatment for transsexualism is sex reassignment, including hormonal treatment and surgery aimed at making the person's body as congruent with the opposite sex as possible. There is a dearth of long-term follow-up studies after sex reassignment, objective, to estimate the mortality, morbidity, and criminal rate after surgical sex reassignment of transsexual persons. Design, a population-based matched cohort study. Is this the Swedish study? Oh god, please don't tell me that this is the... Because I haven't, I've heard people talk about it and read it out loud, because I'm better at, learning from listening, than from reading, but, okay. Overall, particularly death from, also had an increased risk from than their respective birth sexes, higher risks for mortality. No, you fucking idiot. No, they are more at risk for mortality, not compared to other trans people who have had the surgery. They are more at risk than cisgender people, okay? That's what the conclusion of this study is actually trying to fucking say, okay? Even the author that has come out and said this. It's like, oh, yeah, even though this may alleviate gender dysphoria, you know, it's not enough, right? And, you know, we need to do more, is the conclusion that they have come to, right? They are literally just saying, oh, even after the surgery, they are still more suicidal than the general population, but they are less suicidal than other trans people that haven't had the surgery, okay? So, I don't know why you would link the Swedish study, as if this hasn't been, talked about already, and, as if this argument hasn't already been shit all over by people who actually know what the fuck they're talking about. So, not only has this dude lied about not only has this dude lied by saying he cares about trans people, because he clearly doesn't give a shit about the suicide rate of trans people increasing in, you know, for obvious reasons, right? But he has also decided to either not read or lie about the Swedish study. And I think the reason he does this is because he knows that his audience of fucking 12-year-olds is not actually going to click the link in the description below and read an entire fucking study, and then analyze what it's actually saying, okay? Nobody in his audience who actually watches his videos is gonna do this, okay? I am probably the only person who watched that video who actually clicked the link that he put in the description. I am literally the only person who is fact-checking. I guarantee it. I guarantee you, nobody in his audience has actually fact-checked this.
Just know that this is terrifying information for parents.
You know what should be more terrifying? The fact that Tennessee is literally saying that, like, two parents who like support their trans kids, like parents who aren't abusive and shitty, basically, right? Who are willing to accept their kids for who they are. Even if you're one of those parents who wants to affirm the gender of your transgender child, well, I guess you're fucked in that you can no longer, like, your consent is no longer enough, okay? It's no longer enough for you to consent, the child to consent, and then a bunch of psychologists to consent. That's no longer enough. They have to suffer until they're 18. They should be forced to go through a puberty that will be traumatizing for them to go through, okay? That is literally what it is, because they will have, like, when it comes to people with severe gender dysphoria, like, they will have some of the most, like, brutal fucking experience. Like, they will have the most brutal experience with their natural puberty, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. No matter what, you are making you are making a huge decision by having them go through either puberty, whether that be, transitioning and going on hormones, or just going through the natural puberty. Both of those are like a decision that have equal weight. So if the kid knows for a fact that they identify as the opposite gender from what they were assigned at birth, like, do you think that they should be forced to go through the wrong puberty anyway, and then have these irreversible changes? Okay? Think about all of the trans people who don't pass, okay? Conservatives love to make fun of trans people that don't pass, yet the reason that they don't pass is because they were forced to go through the wrong fucking puberty. That's why they don't pass. Is because they didn't have the opportunity to get puberty blockers and didn't have access to gender-affirming care. But somehow it's their fault that they don't pass. Wow. Fucking incredible.
Is fascism. Let me
No, it literally is.
just say this. You wouldn't know what fascism was if it slapped you across the fucking face.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. Get off your fucking high horse, you dumb piece of shit. You don't know what you're talking about. So for you to sit here and try to lecture the people who actually do know what they're talking about and say, oh, you don't know what fascism is. Like, I'm sorry, but somebody doesn't have to be running around with a square mustache and a bunch of swastikas, with their arms extended outwards to be fascists, okay? They are trying to force other people to live their lives a certain way, okay? So, and I don't want to hear it's just because parents are scared for their children, LOL. Like, that's not what it is. Because this not only, this isn't a bill that prevents children from going against their parents and getting gender-affirming care when their parents don't consent. Although I would be in favor of them being able to do that as well, but that's a different discussion. This is literally not even giving the parents the choice. They are not allowing the parents, the kids, or the medical institutions to have any say in this. That is literally what it is, okay? It is the government, for religious and political reasons, dictating what they deem to be acceptable. That is what it is. What they believe to be acceptable lifestyles versus, oh, these lifestyles are degenerate, so we should force everybody to not live them, okay? It is literal fascism, okay? It is these, and whether it be, and to pretend like there isn't, like, a large fascist movement in this country right now is fucking brain dead and delusional, okay? To pretend like there aren't neo-Nazis fucking everywhere, like, more loud and proud than they've been for a while, to pretend like there aren't these fucking, like, blatant fascists who want to eradicate trans people from existing. You have to be delusional to just pretend like that's, oh, yeah, no, there's nobody trying to commit genocide against trans people. Oh, this is just a made-up issue.
I'll give you an example of fascism, right? Identifying one group of people as evil, wrong, unchanging, and in need of removal. That's a...
How very interesting. Oh, do you want me to pull up the Michael Knowles speech? Do I need to play the Michael Knowles speech where he talks about how trans people are fucking evil and need to be eradicated? Or should I, pull up a clip of Nick Fuentes saying that trans people are all degenerate? Like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to, or do you need me to find, like the thousands of examples of people saying that trans people deserve to be killed? Do you want me to, pull up a replay from my live chat from my previous stream, where people are saying that Brianna J deserved to die, which, for those of you who don't know, is a victim of a hate crime. Okay, she was a 15-year-old trans girl, who was brutally murdered, because she was trans. Are we just gonna pretend like there aren't, like, a fuck ton of people that, like, are on board with killing trans people? Like, even in my fucking chat, okay? And I'm relatively obscure. Like, not that many people know who I am. And even I've seen that shit on my fucking channel, right? So, and I'm very left-leaning, right? But even my audience has people like that. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy making fun of them. So in a sense, in that regard, I'm glad they're there. But what I'm not glad about is the fact that, it does represent an overall shift in attitude in this country. Like, the Overton window has moved so far to the fucking right that, it's like, what do you even do if you're a centrist? Like, do you become a lefty? Do you move with the Overton window? I would hope you would become a lefty, preferably. I mean, I guess that's kind of what I did, but...
It's a step towards fascism, not wanting kids to have hormones. We just restrict kids from...
Not wanting kids to be forced to go through the wrong puberty, and for parents to not have a say in that, and also forcing drag queens out of existence, or really anybody who cross-dresses, because it was so fucking ambiguous that it can just apply to gender nonconformity in general. It's like, oh, yeah, no, no, they're not trying to commit genocide. They just don't want trans people to exist or drag queens to exist. Oh, yeah, no, it's not genocide, though. They just really don't like trans people and want us all to die, but it's not genocidal. They just don't want us to exist, It's, oh, but those are perfectly reasonable positions from the far right, okay? Like, the fucking apologia for literal Nazis and alt-righters is fucking absurd. I don't know why the commentary community does this. Like, they pretend to be centrist when they are far fucking, like, they are so far to the fucking right, it's absurd, okay? If you want to see what actual centrism looks like, go watch a fucking Destiny debate, okay? I would well, okay, maybe he's like center-left, right? But he's a lot closer to the center than this motherfucker, right? Okay? If you want to see what actual, left-leaning ideology looks like, go watch, I don't know, Vaush, or some shit. Or even me. I wouldn't say I'm, like, that far left. I'm pretty moderate, at least to an extent. I don't know if I would consider myself moderate. I would say I'm like, decently left, right? But, like, I wouldn't say I'm, like, extreme or anything.
From doing a lot of things because it may have negative impacts on them. And,
like what? Do you have a source? Because the one source you gave, which is the Swedish study, you lied about. So, aside from you lying about the Swedish study, what source do you have, Ween? Or do you not have one? Is the source your asshole? Because that's what it seems like.
That's not fascism, you fucking imbecile. Look.
Forcing people to live a way they don't want to live isn't fascism? Oh, okay. Ah, no, stop. Didn't mean to do that.
Let me show you two societies that you're probably aware of and tell me which one on paper is more fascist. Not fascist because neither of these are fascist by any means, but tell me which one you think is more fascist. Here we have the United States of America, and here we have Japan.
Yeah, okay. You're sort of you're selectively removing the issue at hand and then just showing nice pictures of impressive structures in both countries, to like as if that's somehow like, oh yeah, yeah, these countries are so good, look at them, you know. It's like there's like a pretty picture. It's like, okay, I could do the same shit if I were to like if I were trying to defend Hitler, right? Let's say I'm a big Kanye West fan and I decide, yeah, I love Hitler, okay, and then I could do the same shit. Oh, look at this beautiful image of a statue of Adolf Hitler. Oh, look at this grandiose statue of Adolf Hitler in this beautiful picture with a sunset in the background. Okay, it doesn't mean shit. That doesn't mean that the country was free or that there was no fascism. Now, I do believe that America is a free country, or at least it's supposed to be. But when I refer to fascism, when I refer to fascists, I'm talking about people that are trying to push our country closer and closer to fascism, okay? No politician can single-handedly turn this country into a dictatorship, but there are so many people on the right that are pushing it in that direction, whether you realize it or not.
I know for a fact that you don't care about, and you don't complain about this one right here, but
well, okay, first of all, I don't live in that one. Secondly, no, I don't think Japan is a very good place to live. Pretty sure the suicide rate is pretty high there, from what I understand. So, no, I wouldn't want to live there. I think it would be a fucking awful place to live. No, I don't think that Japan is this great country, okay? I think it's kind of dog shit, if I'm gonna be honest.
But you sure do love complaining about this one. Go ahead.
Wait, you mean to tell me that people complain about the country that they live in? Wow, that's crazy. It's like, okay, yeah, just because not every country is North Korea doesn't mean that you can't complain about something happening in less bad countries, okay? It's like, okay, yeah, sure, we could complain about Japan or even North Korea if we wanted, right? But it's like, are those countries actively getting worse, or are they like at a stable dogshit position? Well, you would probably say, oh, they're at a stable dogshit position. You know, they suck to live in. You know, I would never want to go there because it's like very like conservative or authoritarian or whatever. But it's like it's already been that way. Whereas America, the country that's supposed to be like the beacon of hope, the land of the free, is becoming something that looks less like the land of the free and more like, I don't know, fucking China, right? Oh yeah, no, it's and again, I know that that's like a little bit hyperbolic to compare our country to China, right? You can, I mean, that's fair to make that criticism of my argument, but the point I'm making is it doesn't have to become China or North Korea overnight for there to be people pushing it in that direction, okay? That is the general direction that these alt-righters are pushing us in. And people are getting mad because they are pushing us in a negative direction, okay? When it comes to North Korea, nobody is being pushed in any direction. It's like they're already like way behind square one, okay? They're already fucked, right? It's like there's nothing they can possibly do to make it worse, right? So what changes would they be protesting? Not that they can protest anyway, right? But it's like, and the reason why we also tend to complain about issues in our own country, it's not just for selfish reasons, right? But like, it's because these are issues that can be prevented still, okay? We can't take preventative measure, all right? Like, we can't prevent North Korea from being, well, fucking North Korea, right? There's nothing we can do about it, all right? Like, they're too far gone to a point where it's like, we just gotta hope that, like, there's some sort of, like, revolution there or some shit. I don't know. It's like, what the fuck can we do? Not much, right? But what we can do is we can prevent, free countries from becoming fascist ones, right? Because the more free countries there are in the world, the better. The more freedom, the better, right? I mean, this should be common sense, but apparently it's not.
Go ahead and look up the ethnic percentages of each country, right?
It doesn't matter what the ethnic percentages are. The ethnic percentage of a country says absolutely nothing about how free or authoritarian it is, okay?
And then tell me which one's more fascist.
Okay. But there's more than one way to be fascist, okay? You don't have to have an ethno-state to be fascist, okay? This is fucking stupid.
Look into the discrimination in both countries and tell...
Yeah, there is discrimination against trans people. Have you not seen the hundreds of bills that are being proposed to, push the agenda that is banning trans people from existence? That is the direction they want to push our country, okay? They're not just going to take 10 steps at a time, right? They're not just going to go from, yeah, I support all trans people, ooh-woo, to, yeah, let's fucking kill them all, line them up in the death camps, right? It's like, they're going to do it slowly over time. But that's why it's important for people like me, or any public figures, no matter the size or amount of influence you have, who talk about politics, to talk about this specifically, right? Like, if you're gonna talk about politics, you better fucking take this seriously, right? I mean, sure, there are good times to laugh at politics, right? But this is not one of them. Like, that, because people are going to fucking kill themselves over not, having access to the gender-affirming care that they need. To not be so fucking miserable and depressed that they want to kill themselves. But, of course, conservatives, only want to make trans people fucking miserable. The more trans people that are miserable and that kill themselves, the better in the eyes of every fucking conservative politician, okay? That is what they want. And I know that might sound a bit extreme, but the measures that they are taking to come to that are also extreme. So it logically follows that, well, they have an extreme hatred towards trans people. Otherwise, they wouldn't be proposing these bills, okay? Again, they don't give a fuck about children, okay? Look at the bill that was proposed in Oklahoma. I've said it before and I've said it again, and I'll say it again. The bill in Oklahoma that aims to ban gender-affirming care for everyone under the age of 26 is just proof that they're going to continue moving the goalpost until it is physically impossible to, or until trans people are banned from existence. Like, they're never going to fucking stop. It's not going to be, oh, now trans children are banned from existence, but, oh, yeah, we're cool with trans adults. You really think that they're going to stop at trans kids? No. No. In fact, they've been becoming more and more extreme with their hateful rhetoric. Just watch a fucking any video uploaded to the Daily Wire within the last year about trans people and compare it to something they uploaded in 2018, okay? You'll see a huge shift in rhetoric, okay? One of those videos is going to be a lot more extreme and hateful than the other, okay? One of them is going to be very vitriolic, whereas the other is going to seem very moderate and, oh yeah, that's a pretty reasonable position type of shit, okay?
Tell me which one is more fascist. I'm not saying that I have a problem with Japan or the USA. I like them both. I like both of their cultures. But if you really, really cared about fascism, you'd be a lot more mad at Japan right now. It's just...
What can I do to fix Japan? Like, do you want me to, like, acquire a Japanese audience? Do I need to learn Japanese? And fucking, like, make videos in Japanese and complain about the Japanese government? So that the Japanese people that watch my videos are more likely to vote for good politicians? Or do you think it just makes more sense for me to reach out to, like, I don't know, an English-speaking audience that I can already communicate with that lives in this country, so that they are more likely to vote for good politicians that don't want to kill all trans people, basically?
As simple as that. Oh, no, okay. Let me set up the thought process here to fully grasp this. Child has gender dysphoria. The only treatment that they offer is life-altering and almost irreversible. They want...
This is incorrect. Puberty blockers have been proven to be completely reversible. So you're just fucking lying. Like, I don't understand how you can sit here and, oh, I care about trans people. Like, yeah, bull fucking shit. You do not give a fuck about trans people. Just say you hate trans people. I would respect you more if you just said that you fucking hated trans people and think that they should be banned from existing, okay? Genuinely. I would respect that more than this weaselly fucking horse shit, okay? Just say you hate us. Just say you hate us. Just straight up say you fucking hate us. Just say it to our face, okay? Trust me, we've heard it a million times. We won't be offended. Though we will probably shit on you a little bit more for it. But again, either he hates trans people and he's lying on purpose, or he is monumentally fucking stupid and ignorant. It is one of those two. Puberty blockers are completely reversible, and then there are hormones, right? So usually, usually people won't go on hormones until they're of the medical age of consent, right? They go on puberty blockers as soon as they start hitting puberty. Stay on it for a couple years, just a few years, and then when they're of the age of medical consent, which I believe is like 16. It might vary from state to state. It's younger than 18. I know that much. Then it's like, well, because they're of the age of medical consent, yeah, they should have the right to get hormones. And if you want to, the most conservative position I'd be willing to accept is, yeah, but also they can't get the bottom surgery, like any of like the actual surgeries until they're 18. That's the most conservative position I deem to be valid, okay? Anything more conservative than that is just fucking brain dead and is just, either completely fucking deranged and stupid and unaware, or just, there's a desire for more trans people to commit suicide, because ultimately that is the outcome of banning trans people from existence, right? Even if it's just trans kids, increasing the suicide rate of children isn't good either, okay?
Want to be sure that the child understands this and has ample time to fully process it.
Well, it's a good thing we have puberty blockers then, is it not?
A delay.
Like, that's literally the whole point of puberty blockers, you fucking idiot, is they pause puberty. So if they decide, oh, actually, I don't think I'm trans, okay? They've thought about it for 2 years, and then they if they want, they can just decide, oh, yeah, maybe this whole trans thing wasn't for me. I thought I was trans. I'm just a little bit fruity, okay? Or some shit like that. I don't fucking know. But if it does turn out that that they are trans, well, then they move on to HRT, and then, it's like they avoided a fuck ton of the painful process of transitioning, okay? It's not, people don't fucking transition for fun, okay? Like, it is a process, okay? When people, like, specifically, like, people that, like, fully medically transition, they don't just do it because they, oh, I thought it would be quirky and cool, but it's just like a phase. Like, that doesn't fucking happen, okay? Nobody would put that much effort into something that is just a phase over that long of a period of time, okay?
Life-altering treatment until the child is 18. This...
Okay. But the age of medical consent is below the age of 18. So, I think that they should be able to start hormones earlier than that. Maybe at, like, 15 or 16 is probably reasonable. Right? Like, it's like, that, I don't know. Because at the end of the day, regardless of which puberty they go through, they are both equally irreversible, okay? They are both equally irreversible. So, our best bet is to just let them go, like, obviously, you can only be on puberty blockers for so long, right? Our best bet would be to let them go through, with the puberty that, they want to go through, right? Because ultimately, you're making a decision no matter what. Like, by not giving them hormones, you are still making a decision, whether you realize it or not. It's just that most cisgender people don't even realize that they're making that decision, because they didn't even consider, oh, what if I'm trans? Because they're not trans, right? So obviously that doesn't even cross their mind. It's like, but like if they were like given the option or whatever, or, like, presented with the option, they'd just be like, nah, I don't want to do hormones. I'm completely fine doing this. Like, you know, I'm just being, you know, the gender I was born as, right? So a lot of people are gonna be like that. But when it comes to trans kids, that's not the case. They're gonna be like, well, no, actually, I would probably fucking kill myself if I had to go through this puberty that I don't want to go through. Well, thank goodness gender-affirming care exists, which allows me to live the way that I want to live. Because at the end of the day, like, children are not just these emotionless machines, right? Like, they have feelings too. Like, they have feelings. They're at least somewhat autonomous, right? Okay, maybe they can't make all the decisions or whatever. Sometimes they might be a little bit irresponsible, right? But if, no matter what, every single person has to make the decision, either consciously or subconsciously. You know, at least if, at least like these days, right? Like, obviously it might not have been like an option for people, you know, however many years ago, right? But now that it's an option, like, everybody has to make that decision, all right? Even you, Ween, you have made that decision, whether you realize it or not. You have decided to go through cisgender puberty, right? The natural puberty, okay? That is the decision you made, and you didn't even have to think about it, okay? It's just so obvious to you, right? That was the correct puberty, right? You didn't want to go through a female puberty. Like, it very fucking obvious to you, even when you were a kid, right? The same thing applies to trans people. A lot, like, especially, like, specifically with kids who have severe gender dysphoria, they know how they identify, and they fucking stick to that shit until they die, okay? Obviously, there are going to be few exceptions, but the rate of detransition is actually incredibly low. You know, and part of that is, you know, because, you know, the bar for getting gender-affirming care is really fucking high. Now, personally, yeah, I support, you know, anyone, like, if there's someone who wants to do DIY hormones, I'm honestly in support of that if they can't get hormones anywhere else, because it's like, it's either that or, you know, be forced to go through the wrong puberty, or be forced to live a life that makes you want to kill yourself. I don't know. I think that decreasing the suicide rate of trans people, or even just trans children, is a good thing, right? Is that, do you disagree? Do you know better than all of the scientists and medical institutions? And think that, oh, no, it doesn't actually decrease the suicide rate. Let me proceed to lie about the Swedish study that I know none of my fucking brain-dead 12-year-old fans are going to actually look at, because they trust my word. Or do you just want to increase the suicide rate? Because it's one of those two things.
This means genocide for trans people. Do you see the gap there? You see the gap?
There's... I've filled the gap for you. It's not that difficult, all right? It's pretty straightforward, actually.
That, you know, there's things that should be connecting it in between, right? Do you see that little space where it makes a massive jump and you feel like
it's not a massive jump?
A huge chunk of timeline was just cut out and thrown on the floor?
What huge chunk of timeline? Like, you do realize that people can look at the direction our country is headed and make predictions, right? Based off of you know, similar things that have happened in history, because history repeats itself, right? Unless we prevent it from repeating itself. So when people like me refer to this as a trans genocide, it's not because, you know, they have fully and successfully committed a genocide yet, right? They have not done that, at least not yet, right? But that is what their goal is. That is what they are trying to slowly accomplish over time. And the reason why people like me refer to it as such is not only because it's fairly accurate, but because I want people to fucking take it seriously, because it's serious. Like, this isn't like oh, you know, they can just, you know, worry about it when they're 18. Ooh, woo, they'll just be happy little children going through normal puberty. Like, that's not how it works, okay? They'll probably fucking kill themselves before then, right? Like, are we just gonna ignore how, like, the suicide rate of trans people and the methods we use to reduce it? Do you just want the suicide rate to not go down? Do you want it to go back up? That's what it seems like, Ween. That is, you are indirectly advocating for the suicide rate to go back up. That's what you want.
Or can you not wrap your head around this little bit? We just don't really see a connection, right?
Just because you are too stupid to see the connection does not mean that there is no connection, okay? Now, I've explained this very fucking clearly, but if for whatever reason, my explanation doesn't do it for you, go watch, I don't know, Hunter Avallone, okay? He is a streamer. He has pretty similar opinions to me, especially when it comes to, like, all the trans shit, right? Go watch one of his debates, okay? He has sources on top of fucking sources, right? Like, his research document is, like, fucking massive, okay? I haven't even started mine yet. I'm gonna start mine soon, okay? Don't worry. But I don't officially have a research document, though I have done some research.
Normally we have these things, we have like transitions between points. We have little bits of evidence, to go and connect the two. Do you see that?
What evidence are you using? Aside from you lying about the Swedish study, you have not provided any evidence, okay? Whereas if you go watch somebody like Hunter Avallone, he has a fucking mountain of evidence, which is the scientific consensus that agrees with me and with, obviously, Hunter Avallone.
See that there? I don't. If this was removing gender-affirming care for all trans people, no matter what, and then saying it was illegal to be trans, I could see the argument where you're saying this is taking steps towards genocide, right?
Well, no, this is already taking steps towards genocide. That would just be taking more steps towards genocide. No matter what, those two things are moving in the same direction. This is not, like, all you are doing is trying to downplay the severity of what is happening. But if it was your kid, and your kid was trans, and you knew that they were trans, I'm assuming you would be a decent parent, at least, that you would at least be a decent person interpersonally, and would let your child transition. I assume you're not a terrible fucking person, Wayne. Like, I'm just gonna assume that you're just terribly misled, because that's what I'm hoping for, alright? I know I've been a little bit, mean or whatever, but I do that to everybody, right? I'm just kind of a mean person sometimes, but it's all in good fun, right? But, and maybe I'm a little bit too mean sometimes, but if you have I don't know, if you give birth to a male, but then your son ends up being your daughter, right? And then, she ends up being trans, she becomes your trans daughter, right? How would you feel as a parent if, no matter how much you pleaded the government and the medical institutions, you were unable to get her gender-affirming care, and she was forced to go through male puberty, and you knew that she's gonna be substantially way more likely to commit suicide? How would you feel as a parent, knowing that? Or no, not just knowing that. How would you feel as a parent when you walk in and the first thing you see when you open the door is your daughter hanging from the fucking ceiling fan, all because she was forced to go through the wrong puberty? How would you feel as a parent? Would you feel good about that? Would you look back at this video and think fondly of yourself and think you made really good points? Or would you fucking look back and think, God damn, this video is really shitty. Here I am spreading this, unintentionally, pushing a conservative agenda without even realizing it. God, what an idiot I was. Maybe if I hadn't contributed to this god-awful fucking hateful rhetoric, whether it be by accident or, just not caring or whatever, it's like, maybe it could have been prevented if I had used my platform for good. Maybe if I had listened to this Femyoz guy, maybe then my trans daughter wouldn't have fucking killed herself.
Right? But it's not. It's not. Your rights to be a trans person are not even restricted, not even for kids.
Well, for kids, it literally is. They're being forced to go through the wrong puberty. That's fucking traumatizing. Ween, I don't think you get it. Imagine, and maybe you wouldn't mind this, but I know a lot of guys would. They would be very self-conscious. Imagine if you just started growing massive mommy milkers, okay? You started growing big man titties. How would you feel about that? Like, as a man. And if you say, actually, that would be pretty cool. Like, either you're fucking lying or saying that to be contrarian, or you're just a closeted non-binary or trans woman. Like, that's all there is to it. And then again, gender is a spectrum. So for all I know, maybe Ween would be totally cool with having big mommy milkers, right? But most men wouldn't be. Most men don't want titties, okay? Like, just imagine. Or imagine if you're, or for any women watching this who may be on the fence, imagine you start growing, like, facial hair, and you start, like, growing, like, taller, and, like, and then you become, and, like, slowly over time, you become really fucking hairy, and like, you, like, you know, you always end up with a 5 o'clock shadow at the end of the day, no matter how much you shave, and you know, your voice becomes really fucking deep, and you become, like, 6 feet tall. How do you think, like, how do you think a woman would feel about that? You know, just like a regular cisgender woman. You don't think that would be fucking traumatizing for her? It's the same shit for trans people. That's what they would experience by not receiving gender-affirming care. It's the exact same feeling as that.
They're just saying that they won't give these kids hormones or surgeries until they're 18.
Okay, I understand why they wouldn't give them surgeries. That's because ultimately, it doesn't make it any more difficult to transition. Like, the process of transitioning isn't any more expensive or difficult if you have surgery when you're 18 as opposed to having it when you're 16, right? So it's like, okay, that's not the biggest deal in the world, right? But puberty is something that is irreversible, okay? So you can't just be like, well, why don't they just wait till they're 18, LOL? It's like, okay, again, I've set up, like, I'm pretty sure you can only be on puberty blockers for so long, before you have to go through one of the 2 puberties, right? I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong on this. Maybe you can be on them indefinitely. But I don't know. I'm pretty sure the ideal... I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on this. I need to do more research, I will say. Because I'm not exactly sure how long it's good to be on them for. I would need to do a little bit more research, admittedly. But, hey, at least when I don't know something, I actually fucking admit it, right? I don't pretend like I know what I'm talking about when I don't. And I don't fucking lie about shit, right? Wayne, on the other hand, that's a different story.
That does not even infringe upon children's rights to present as the opposite gender. Back to the argument of genocide, right? If you're talking about...
It's like, oh, well, it's not as bad as if they were to force them to not even present. It's like, this is the most stupid fucking argument. It's like, oh, yeah, well, it's not bad that Hitler killed all the Jews. I mean, at least he wasn't killing all the Aryans as well. That would be even worse. More people would be dying. It's like, yeah, but killing all the Jews was still fucking bad, okay? You can't just come up with a worse thing. Like, you can't just come up with something worse as, like, a means of discrediting the validity of an argument against something that is bad.
Gregory Stanton's third step to genocide, you're just delusional. That's like...
It's not delusional. Like, I don't think you understand how politics work, my guy, okay? Politicians don't just wake up one day and decide, you know what, I'm gonna start preaching about, like, how all trans people need to be sent to death camps, and then start trying to push those policies. You know why? Because it wouldn't be effective. They wouldn't be able to accomplish anything by doing that. But if they're more clever and sneaky about it, and they slowly make their rhetoric more and more extreme over time, starting from a very moderate-sounding position to something way more extreme, and pushing for policies that slowly, like, like, making, pushing, like, smaller policies. Now, I wouldn't even consider that a small policy, but small in comparison to, like, their overall, like, goal, like, the direction they want this country to be in, right? Like, they can't just, implement one big policy that says kill all trans people, right? They need to do it slowly over time with many policies. But that is what they're doing.
Saying, and this is going to be a really, really fucking stupid sentence to say. That's like saying restricting minors from viewing porn is causing the genocide.
No, that's fucking retarded. You're an actual moron, Ween. Is there any statistical evidence that shows that, being able to watch porn decreases people's suicide rate? Do children become less suicidal when they watch porn? No. No, they fucking don't. So, like, and also, there's, like, hardly anything that stops them, from watching, from, you know, viewing it anyway. Aside from if their parents, like, you know, monitor what, you know, their kid does on their device or whatever, right? So there would be no good reason to argue against that anyway, because it's, like, it's not even, like, even if it were, like, that kind of issue or whatever, it would be like, well, you know, it's like, they can just, you know, break the law a little bit, right? Like, I did that starting from when I was 10. Yeah. It's like, I knew what porn was when I was 10. Wow, I'm so cool. Maybe, I don't know. Either way. Only joking, of course. Not about the being 10, but about the being cool. If you're 10 years old, you shouldn't be watching my content, period. Let alone watching porn.
Side of adult actors, following the logic that if you restrict your child from viewing porn, maybe those that want to do porn one day won't have ample time to prepare for the peak of their career, which is...
I mean... But, like... This doesn't make any fucking sense. What would you exactly... What exactly would you do to prepare for your career? Like, watching porn doesn't make you good at sex. Like, being... Like, what? Are they gonna, like, memorize, like, all of, like, the techniques used in porn? Are they just gonna watch porn analytically? I mean, I have watched it in, like, a non-horny context. I've watched, Anakin and Obi-Wan versus Count Dooku from Star Wars Episode 3 on Pornhub, okay? But, whatever.
Is right when they turn 18, right? So, therefore, you're causing the genocide of porn stars, which I...
What? No, you're not increasing anybody's suicide rate. Also, being a porn star isn't an immutable characteristic, you fucking idiot.
I don't have to explain why that's delusional, but that is essentially on...
No, but you have to explain why it's not a straw man argument, because let's be real, it is. And you're not able to explain why it's not a straw man argument.
Paper, the exact same argument that you're making. And
no, it isn't. It's literally not. And I've already explained why it's not.
The screenshot, right, is, I believe, incredibly misleading, right? Because it says children are going to be forced to detransition.
Yeah, that's a fucking problem.
I looked into the bill. They're not going to be forced to detransition. They're just going to stop being provided gender-affirming care.
Yeah, that's forcing them to detransition. Part of their transition includes medical transition, so they are being forced to detransition, you fucking idiot.
Gender-affirming care, I mean hormones and gender reassignment surgery. And I think...
Okay, again... I don't think children are getting gender reassignment surgery, or sex reassignment surgery, sorry. I don't know why he calls it gender reassignment surgery. That doesn't even make any fucking sense. But I'm guessing he thinks that sex and gender are the same thing. Well, if that's what you believe, Ween, I had gender with your mom last night.
I think we really need to address the big problem here, which is that this argument isn't even about, like, right, trans people are involved, but the focal point of this argument is not even about trans people.
It literally is.
This is an argument about children and the...
No, it's an argument about trans people. Specifically children in this case. But if you think that they're gonna stop at children, you're fucking delusional.
Medical treatment that we think is acceptable to give them. This isn't something new. Every single medical treatment, right? There are some that are better for adults. There are certain diagnoses.
Okay, so why is the regret rate so low when it comes to people who receive gender-affirming care and get the treatment? Why is the regret rate so low? What? Is it because they're you know, kids shouldn't be transitioning, so they don't regret it? Like, what? None of it makes sense. Your argument is incoherent.
And medications that we only give to adults because they might have negative impacts on children and the rest of their life.
Okay, but the scientific consensus begs to differ. Okay, puberty blockers, okay, pubertal suppression, and HRT do not negatively affect trans kids. The overwhelming consensus is that they positively affect trans kids. And when I say trans kids, I mean like people with like severe gender dysphoria, right? And I'm not a trans medicalist, right? Like you don't have to have dysphoria to be trans, right? But like I could understand having the bar be a little bit higher for like trans kids than trans adults, right? Like if you don't have gender dysphoria, then sure, you could make the argument that it's not an immediate problem, right? But just because some trans people don't have dysphoria doesn't mean that dysphoria doesn't exist, right? Just because it's not a prerequisite doesn't mean it's not a real thing that needs to be treated for people that have it. Like, period.
Your life, right? There are certain things that just we don't know until you're an adult. This is
What do you mean we don't know? There are people that know that they're trans when they're like 5. Like literal fucking 5-year-olds know this sometimes, depending on how bad their dysphoria is. Now they don't have the terminology to articulate it necessarily, but they know inherently.
is about the safety of children, not people are scared of trans people. They're not.
Michael Knowles fucking made a genocidal speech that begs to differ. I don't want to hear this, oh, it's protect the kids, LOL. Fucking dumbass argument.
Scared of your pronouns. They're not scared of your identity. They don't.
Except that, well, it's not necessarily that they're scared. It's more of when conservative pundits talk about trans people, they're not trying to just invoke fear. They're trying to invoke disgust more than anything else. That's what they really want to do, right? That's their goal. So, yeah.
They don't want to kill you because you are transgender. They want to take steps to protect.
Then why did Michael Knowles say he wanted to eradicate trans people? Right? It's like, oh, no, they... oh, well, he's saying eradicate them. Well, he only means, forcing them to go through conversion therapy, and then they won't be trans, ooh-woo. It's like, well, yeah, but that's still fucking bad, even if that's the case. And that's being charitable to Michael Knowles. And Michael Knowles isn't like an obscure figure. Like, he has, like, fairly mainstream... Like, his views are fairly mainstream Republican views at this point, which are very anti-trans. They're just anti-queer in general. Like, they don't even think gay people are valid. Like, that, like, I don't know. Whatever.
Protect children. And no, not protect children from being groomed into being transgender, not
Thank you. Thank you, Wayne. At least you are, fucking intelligent enough to acknowledge that nobody is being groomed into being trans. Thank you. Okay, little bit of respect for Wayne. Not mostly disrespect, but just a smidge of respect now.
Protect them from, I don't know, what's like the conservative stereotype when it comes to this? I don't know. But if you look at the statistics, and everybody hates the statistics, right, because they're transphobic, but if you
yeah, transphobes hate statistics.
look at the statistics, and you look at the I am going to have so much shit thrown at me. If you look at the survival rates, the detransition rates, the rates of people that continue to seek gender-affirming care after a specific period.
Yeah, it's actually quite promising, those rates. The overwhelming consensus is that, the rate of detransition is very low. And the amount of people that detransition, because they're not happy with their transition or because they're not trans, is also low. Most people who detransition do so because of social reasons or, like, other external factors. And then they end up retransitioning later.
Period of time. If you look at all of these factors, right, for a sizable chunk of people that pursue this, it doesn't have a good ending for them. And
Source?
Parents are very scared that that will happen to their children because
Source?
it is not a small
Source?
chance that they will have terrible
Wait,
mental
you got a source?
consequences because of this. Because their
Source?
child.
The only source you provided was lying about the Swedish study. Does he link anything else in the description? Ah. Uh-oh. Ah. Alright. Oops, let me smash dislike. You can't see dislikes. No, no, just the Swedish study he lied about? Okay. That's the only source he provided.
Child may have made the wrong decision because their child isn't old enough to make this.
What if the wrong decision is going through the natural puberty? You fucking idiot. That's just as bad. Like, how are you this fucking stupid? Like, I don't even understand how it's physically possible to be this obtuse.
Decision. Parents are scared for their kids. They're not scared of trans people. And I think most parents would be fine if...
Yeah, but those fears are not valid. Like, they're not grounded in reality.
Their child thought that maybe they have gender dysphoria. Maybe they...
Yeah, in order to get, okay, when it comes to gender-affirming care, they don't just, like, you know, give out fucking hormones to children, like, on day one or whatever, okay? They don't just, like, oh, you wore a dress the other day, little Jimmy? Okay, time for me to inject you with estrogen. It's like, that doesn't fucking happen, okay? No. You have to show severe gender dysphoria for at least 6 months consecutively, as well as a bunch of other shit. But I'm not really here to go into that right now. I will go into it in future streams, okay? This isn't meant to be like a super research-oriented stream, because I didn't think he was even gonna have one source. Like, I didn't think he was gonna, like, pull up the Swedish study and lie about it, because he's a commentary YouTuber. And the whole point of commentary YouTube is just to talk shit, right?
Go seek out care. Maybe they will go to therapy, talk to a therapist, make sure that this is the right decision for them. Maybe...
Yeah, that's what they do. They do make sure that it's the right decision before they go through with it. And then when they go through with it, it's literally just puberty blockers for multiple years. So they have multiple years to think about it and to make that decision and to decide whether or not it's the right decision. So this is a fucking stupid argument.
Maybe start presenting in a more gender fluid way. Maybe...
Yeah, and they would do that while they're on puberty blockers.
Start presenting as a female, a male.
Yeah, and they can do that without being forced to go through the wrong puberty.
Maybe they go forward and they go through all this therapy. Maybe they discover that this is the right decision. And by the time that they figure out that they know that this...
Oh, you mean by the time that they've already been forced to go through the wrong puberty? Is that what you mean? It's like, you are making their lives 10 times harder by advocating for this position. You know that, right? Like, transitioning becomes, like, infinitely more difficult when you've already gone through the puberty you didn't want to go through in the first place, but you were forced to go through it because of dumbasses like this who advocate against gender-affirming care for youth.
Is the best life path for them. Once they turn 18, then they seek out gender-affirming care and live the...
But they shouldn't have to wait till they're 18, because at that point, they've already been forced to go through the wrong puberty that they already knew from a very young age that they didn't want to go through, but they were forced to go through it anyways because of dumb fucks like this fucking moron on screen right now. Him, not me. Him. I guess we're both fucking dumbasses, but he's like an actual dumbass. I'm only a dumbass in like the... Oh, sometimes I do something that's kind of stupid but also funny. But he's like an actual dumbass. Like a, wow, you, like, I can't tell if you're a bad person or if you're just really fucking stupid type of dumbass.
The rest of their life. But there's a not unsubstantial portion of children that would go through that process and realize, maybe this isn't the best decision for
Source?
me. Maybe this...
Well, I mean, and also, that's the point of putting them on puberty blockers. So yeah, if they decide, maybe this isn't the best decision for me, they go off of puberty blockers and go through their... Yeah, they just resume puberty, basically. That they would have gone through if they... Yeah, like, this is such a stupid argument. Like, you just have to pretend... Like, his entire argument relies on pretending like puberty blockers don't exist, pretending... lying about... Yeah, pretending that puberty blockers don't exist, lying about the Swedish study, and shit like that, right? Like, that's what his argument is. Oh, and omitting the fact that a big portion of the bill is like an anti-drag thing, which is basically just anti-cross-dressing, and it's worded so vaguely that, you know, like very deliberately, so that it can be applied to fucking anybody who's gender non-conforming outside of like, I don't know, places like strip clubs and bars and shit. So that could include walking down the street. I mean, minors may be present walking down the street. Like, it's so ambiguous, and they're doing that on purpose so that they can enforce it however the fuck they want.
This will have a insanely negative impact on
Suris?
my long-term goals. Maybe this isn't the best.
Puberty blockers don't do that, though. They're reversible. That's the whole point.
Best option for me, and they want to give their child enough time to figure that out. This is not
by forcing them to go through the wrong puberty. That seems kind of fucked. Like, the best thing you can do is give them more. All you can do is maximize the time they have to make that decision by giving them puberty blockers and putting them on puberty blockers before they make that decision, right? Like, that's the best thing you can do for them, because no matter what, regardless of what puberty they go through, it is a decision at the end of the day, whether you realize it or not.
Not about killing trans people. It's about help.
Okay, why don't you tell that to the trans kid hanging from the ceiling fan? I know I keep saying that, but, like, I think it illustrates my point fairly well, right? Like, you are inadvertently advocating for an increased suicide rate. That's all you're advocating for at the end of the day. You are advocating in favor of making people's lives more miserable. Like, I don't know how he's too fucking stupid to see this.
Helping children. And we're talking about allowing children to make the decision that they need life-altering surgeries and medications. Let me bring this up.
Because forcing them to go through the puberty that they really don't want to go through is the solution.
Right? We won't even let healthy adult men take hormone replacement therapy. In the case...
Oh, okay. But did I say that healthy adult men shouldn't be able to do that? Like, what? Like,
case that they want to do HRT, TRT, you know, enhance their masculinity, right? Because a lot of men have body dysmorphia.
Yeah, well, they should be able to do that. Yeah. I don't see the issue with them being able to do that. What? You're arguing against a position I don't hold.
They don't feel confident in themselves. They have... And I'm going to go out on a limb and say it is very, very similar, probably, to gender dysphoria. They don't...
No, it is not. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Gender dysphoria and body dysmorphia are not even close to being the same thing, okay? Body dysmorphia means that you see an objectively false version of yourself. For instance, somebody with anorexia sees themselves as fat, and there's no end to it because they will basically keep getting skinnier and skinnier until they literally starve and die. And, you know, affirming the way they see themselves doesn't decrease their suicide rate, right? Like, that's not how it fucking works, right? But when it comes to trans people, they're not seeing an objectively incorrect version of themselves. They are seeing what they look like in the mirror, objectively, for what it is. And they don't like it because, like, it gives them dysphoria because it doesn't match their identity. Because they you know, if they see a guy in the mirror but they identify as a woman, then she's gonna be like, what the fuck, right? Like, you know, it's like, you wouldn't say that, like, if a woman had a rare condition where, like, basically she started, like, just a cisgendered woman, you know, just started growing a beard, and, like, the facial hair grew so quickly, that, like, you know, she always ended up with a 5 o'clock shadow, and there was no amount of makeup that could hide it. I don't think you would label her as somebody with body dysmorphia for being, like, insecure about that, right? Or for really fucking hating that, right? No. In fact, that would probably be more similar to gender dysphoria at that point, because it's like, at that point, it's like, oh, here is a kind of a gender-specific issue at that point. But yeah.
Don't feel comfortable in their bodies because they don't feel like they're masculine enough.
Okay. You are conflating body dysmorphia from gender dysphoria, because I think what you're referring to are, like, you know, like, for instance, these massive dudes, like these fucking bodybuilders that still see themselves as, like, weak and puny, but that is, like, an objectively incorrect perception of themselves, right? That's the difference. Like, there is like an actual, like I don't want to say denial of reality. They're not denying reality, but, like, a perception that is incorrect. whereas, like, somebody with gender dysphoria, they don't see anything that's objectively correct. They are aware of their biology, maybe even too aware. And that awareness of their biology and how they're perceived fucks with them, right? Like, one of the reasons they have gender dysphoria is because they're self-aware.
And it's to the point where it genuinely ruins their life. And they can't do this kind of treatment without it being illegal either, or heavily monitored by a doctor. And in that
But did I say that was a good thing?
case, they won't even let them do it until they're 25. Like,
yeah, and that's wrong. So what is this supposed to be, like a gotcha? Is this a gotcha moment? Because it's really fucking terrible. Like, it's dog shit.
that's the lowest fucking bar for entry that you can get into. And
Yeah, and that should be lowered. Like, what?
it's accepted with.
Oh, and also, okay, first of all, it should be lowered down to 18, like, bare fucking minimum, right? Because, yeah, I don't think, like, and secondly, they're not being forced to go through the wrong puberty that they don't want to go through. So, again, it's a false equivalency because they don't have to experience these irreversible changes that are, like, that, you know, that completely fuck with, you know, their gender identity and how they perceive themselves, and having like, there's...
Thin like the.
I'm losing too many brain cells. Do I just stop? I'm gonna read chat, and then I'm gonna go. Alright. Hello, Natty Forsyth. Which guy is that? That is Ween, the fucking idiot, loser, mega hyper dotard. That is Ween. Yep. Oh, God. Oh, God. I don't even know if I'm going to read chat. I might just randomly end the stream. Who knows? Femyoz is live. Hello, Skillenton, if you're still watching. I hate the fact that my... One Piece joke. Aw, thank you, Skillenton. Fact that he looks like he could be related. No. No. Stop. Stop. No. No. We are... No. We look nothing alike, okay? I do not look like Ween. Shut the fuck up. I'll fucking murder you. You better donate to the Streamlabs link in the description below or something. Or to make up for it. Yeah, that was the most shameless, like, way of asking for donations. Nah, you don't actually have to. Bulgaria of the 90s. Why isn't it? What the fuck? Won't fucking scroll. What the hell? I think it's fucking broken. Holy shit. Okay, what? Oh, there's a lot of people in chat. I'm not gonna get through all this, am I? Very true. Even in my country, trans people are allowed. They just can't change legal papers.